Hello YouTube friends, how's everybody doing today? I'm doing pretty good. It's a nice cool day here in Michigan. A little sprinkle just passed. And we're going to fix a common problem that affects really all generations of the Ford Escape and Mercury Mariner, no matter what engine or drivetrain you have. On the hatchback for the glass, we have these two glass hinges, and what happens is they get very rusty and corroded. And you see this one here is already starting to separate. Before too long, it'll probably break. When I first got the car 4 years ago, I replaced this one over here with a good one from the scrapyard. But you can see this one here is actually starting to crack a little bit too. But when I got the other one replaced, way back when, I say 4 years ago, I actually bought a pair of them. I think the scrapyard, I took them off myself. I think the scrapyard charged me $20 for the pair. I didn't replace the one on the right because it wasn't doing anything bad. It didn't have any cracks or anything in it then, so I just kept it aside for later in case I ever needed it. I almost sold it on eBay before, but I thought, no, you know, someday I'm going to need it. And I was right, I am going to need it. So we're going to show you guys how to do this today. There's two bolts that hold this on. Actually, one nut and a bolt. The bolt is a Torx bit right under here, and that's a T30. You can see how corroded this is and how bad it is. That caused, I put the Torx bit in there, it just spun around, stripped right out. I pounded in a Allen wrench that was just a hair bigger than that and got it to fit in there nice and tight, and that spun out and rounded out too. I thought about trying to get a pair of channel lock pliers here on it and spinning it, but there's no good angle here with the curve of the glass for me to get a side grip on it. The other option would be to take the base of the hinge off first and then see if I can spin the whole thing around, but that might put some bad tension forces on the glass. So what I decided I'm going to do is I'm going to get a drill bit and I'm just going to drill it out right through the center here until it gets in far enough to get beyond the ring where the shaft goes through, and that will hopefully, where did I put the, here, and hopefully that will cause it to pop get this backside prep to come off first. So let's show you how that works. That's an 11mm, which is kind of an unusual size. But let's take that hinge off and then we'll see about drilling the bottom off. I still feel maybe we should drill first and then take the nut off later. Well, look at that. I did the drilling like I said, and it drilled right up to where it screws into that, and it snapped the cap off, and now we have a clean break, or not break, but a clean removal. All we have to do now is make sure the glass is kind of clean. We finished removing this 11mm nut on the back side, which hopefully this arm here is going to support this. I'll leave my shoulder under while I'm doing this to make sure we don't have any issues. I gotta get my ratchet back though. Alright, time to take a break while I do this without a camera. Here you can see the hinge has been removed by the removal of that single 11mm nut from the back side, which leaves us with the new one here. We're just gonna, it's got the rubber seal around it. All we've got to do is press it into place. Ouch. Without dropping something here. There we go. Ow, ow. Alright, there we go. Just hold that in place and reach around the other side of the nut and put the nut on. Alright, we've got it in. We don't have it tightened down all the way, but it's tight enough for now until we get the glass stabilized, which is what I want to do next, which is pretty easy. We're going to lift this up. Well, first we're going to, it's kind of hard to do while I'm showing you with one hand, but we're going to do it anyways, best we can, because I want you guys to see this. We're going to take the T30, I don't know what kind of nut we call this, but they're bolt, but it's like a shoulder bolt with a head on it, and we're going to, it's got a fiber bushing around it. We're going to stick that into the hole, and then with my other hand, once I put the camera down, I'm going to lift this up, and then I'm going to use both hands to bring them together so they're in the same spot and start my threads into the hinge. I've done it before, it's not that hard. but it is pretty hard when you're holding the camera. All right, I'm sorry I had to set you down, but it took 2 full hands to do this, so hopefully you can still see what we did. We put the bolt through here, and with the plastic retainer bracket in place. Well, okay, first we held the plastic retainer bracket in place, inserted the shoulder bolt through that, held my wrench on this side, like so, with my left hand in a tightened position, and then I came around to this side with my right hand. I stood like right in here. I reached out with my right hand and used my right hand to hold this steady and line it up with the shoulder bolt coming through the glass, and I just started gently spinning it around until I saw the threads catch, and then I proceeded to tighten it up fully. And you don't want to go crazy tight on this because you're screwing it into glass, and you don't want to over torque the glass and take a chance on shattering your glass. So I just, nice and tight with one hand. That's all I'm going to do on that. And once it's back in, you just loop the power cable through this little tray and cut out here, and that'll keep it suspended out of the way. And now we're going to reach back behind one more time to get the 11mm ratchet. Where did I put that? Well, there's the ratchet, and the socket for some reason is in my shirt pocket. Who knows why people do things when they're working on stuff. I always lose my tools. I'm not organized enough. So let's see if we're in tightening mode here. Alright, we're in tightening mode. So now we're going to just reach behind, put the socket, we're going to use an 11mm deep socket. We're going to slide it over the end of the stud that comes out of the hinge, get it locked into place on the nut, and then tighten it down. And while we're tightening it, we'll just kind of like use one hand to hold this straight while it's tightening down. And again, you're screwing a plastic or aluminum, I guess that's a cast aluminum hinge onto a steel body, so you don't want to go crazy with the tightness, but you want it nice and tight where it's not going to come loose. Once it's tight, we want to test the hinge to make sure it lines up right, opens and closes easily. That was pretty easy. And we'll pop it open. That works nice and smooth. One more time. Looks good. Now we're going to open this up, and we're going to check the rubber grommet here. So the rubber grommet's going to slide into place from the right side first, and then the left side will just click right up into place. And that's all there is to it. Pretty easy. While you got it open, you could clean out all the dirt and debris from here to make sure you're not collecting rust and moisture in here. Makes it nice if it's nice and clean. The other thing I would think about doing while you're under here is to maybe spray a little white lithium grease or WD-40 on the hinges so they don't stiffen up on you or get rusty. I'm gonna get some solvent and clean the debris off this hinge. Oops. We'll get some solvent and clean some debris off this hinge. You can see there's a little bit of discoloration on the glass right here, and again on this side. And when the back window is really clean, there's actually a little bit of like a oily, like rainbow colors coming down off here. That's from the decaying metal running down and getting attached to the material of the glass. What I use to clean this off with, because it's not just dirt, it's like debris, like say from the decaying oxidation of the aluminum. I get some iron out, water softener cleaner, sodium bisulfite, all those things are the same chemical. And I'll take a couple teaspoons of it, mix it in a little bowl of hot water so it's like a thin paste, and I'll bring it out here and rub it on here and let it soak. And then after it soaks for a while, I'll get an old brush, like a little scrub brush or an old toothbrush, and I'll scrub away at it, and that takes the metal discoloration right off. And we're using some iron out, which is, I believe, sodium bisulfite. I could have the chemical name wrong, but I'm just going to take a little bit of it. I'm going to take this little cap here and we're going to mix some water with that and mix it up in a paste. So we've mixed it into a wet paste, and we're just going to spread it around the areas directly underneath the hinges here, where you can see the discoloration is. And you really can't see the discoloration too bad in there, except maybe a little bit right in here. But let's go ahead and soak some of that on there. And there we have it. I don't know if you can tell or not, but that whole rusty metallic stain underneath the hinge is gone. And we cleaned this one up too, which seems to have gotten rid of the trail that was running down the glass below that one. We'll have to keep our eye open next time we go to the scrapyard for another left side hinge that's not all rusted. They sell pretty fast at the scrapyard because they're only 10 bucks a piece. And you know, they're usually one of the first things that go off of these Escapes. And they're different. I think the 03 through 07 uses a certain style, then the 28 through 2012 uses this style here that's slightly wider. But none of them are really well made. They all have issues, and it's something you'll have to change eventually if you own one of these Ford products. Thanks for watching. Have a great day. Enjoy your Ford Escape. Bye for now. And one more look at the offending piece here. You can see how rusty and corroded it's getting, and that was right near where the pivot point is on it, where the pressure on it, so it wouldn't be too long before that snapped off. And you can see where I drilled through it with the 1/4-inch drill. I drilled right through the spot where the corners is rounded off on the T30 mushroom head screw that went through it. And once that drilled through to a certain point, it just popped right off. Super easy. You can do it yourself. No special skills or tools required. Just 2 hands and maybe a helper. Make it easier with a helper, but not really necessary as you saw. I could do it by myself.